Good afternoon, everybody. It's your favorite Clemson homer back today with another episode of Facts Don't Care About Your Feelings. 1 second. So, one of the things that makes YouTube such a great platform, I've been very critical of some of the things that YouTube does, but that's neither here nor there for the purposes of this video or any other video, nor does anybody care that it's here for football talk. But the reason YouTube is so great of a platform for people like me, not me in particular, people like me, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people to get their message out and debunk or refute what national media says. A platform like YouTube has been a cancer to national media, big companies. You all know who these big companies are. I'm not going to name them. They're going nameless. Not necessarily the companies themselves, but the analysts that they hire. The problem with those analysts is that they are biased in their own right. They pretend to not be biased. I can actually sit here and admit to you, I'm a Clemson homer. Yes, I have some bias, without a doubt. But if you ask any of these guys that I'm about to name, and we're going to listen to an audio clip here in a minute, they will swear that they are completely unbiased and lie to you. The problem with them is that they spread information to people that don't do their research or don't really pay attention. You know, it's funny how a big spike, when you have a college football YouTube channel, and there's other video makers out there, if you're watching, you know exactly what I'm talking about. People proclaim to be huge college football fans, and they watch every game, and they watch every game closely, and they know everything. As soon as the college football season's over, they go away. You don't see them again till the next year. And then a lot of them, they'll have high expectations for their team. They'll show up in August. As soon as their team loses 2 or 3 games, you won't see them again till the next year. They take 10 months off a year. These are the people, and this is a large majority of college football fans in reality. These people get their information from these guys like Joel Klatt, like Paul Feinbaum, and countless others. Who's the one I was retweeting last night? Clay Travis. Now, I don't disagree with everything any of these guys say, but Clay Travis made the statement last night on Twitter that he would have Clemson at 6. And if you think that Clemson should be ranked higher than 6 and you haven't been watching college football, they don't look good. Okay. So, again, if you're just a fan and that's how you view things, if you just don't want Clemson to be in the top 5, or if you just think that their schedule's so bad they don't deserve to be there, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But let's listen for a second here, if I can get this to work, at a clip from the Colin Cowherd show when he had on Joel Klatt. I don't know, was it yesterday or the day before or something? Let me look at it here. Hold on. And bear with me here. I'm very technically challenged, okay? Someone say I'm more than that. All right, here we go. I'm going to probably pause intermittently and respond to some of these points here.
Through like they have in the last couple of years, I think is troublesome.
Okay, so you watch this. So Klatt has his top 10, and this cracks me up.
Why does this crack you up?
Okay, so
put it up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have Clemson 7th. Folks, let me tell you what Clemson is. You know what Clemson is?
Florida State.
First of all, there's no Z in Clemson. That goes for Clay Travis. That goes for Colin Cowherd. That goes for every other moron out there that doesn't know how to read the English language. I mean, do you walk around saying stop at this stop sign? I mean, who replaces an S with a Z in any situation?
14?
No. They're Pete Carroll's USC Trojans.
Why is that?
Because Clemson wins last year. Clemson's in a bad conference. When Pete was in the Pac-12, it was garbage.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Okay, the ACC now is garbage.
Yeah.
Miami's garbage. Florida State's garbage. Virginia Tech's not what it was with the great coach.
Only one ranked team. That's Clemson.
Okay.
By the way,
so
American has more ranked teams.
So Clemson now with Trevor Lawrence and Dabo in a bad conference.
Okay.
They are bored out of their mind.
Maybe.
Pete's teams in the Pac.
I'm going to harp on the same point here, probably several times throughout this short clip. He says that Clemson's bored out of their minds. They're so bored that they're doing exactly the same thing they've been doing for the past 4 years. Exactly. Playing the same level of competition, winning by the same margin. Were they bored all those years too, Colin?
12, won a title. They came out the following year. They couldn't get up for anybody in the conference. Clemson is just sitting back here, waiting for Alabama, and they're going to crush them again.
Listen, it might be, and they might win a national championship, and they might go 15-0.
They're bored out of their mind.
Lord knows they're not going to get tested in the ACC. I think that
who would the championship game be against today?
Maybe. Oh gosh.
I mean,
every team in the Coastal has 2 losses.
Yes.
One of them in the ACC. So it's a total crapshoot. By the way, whoever wins it, it's likely to be the 7th different winner in the last 7 years on that side. I mean,
I think Clemson's. I think we're falling for this. Is that
but hold on. Have they been impressive at all?
Well, again, they're sleepwalking through this schedule.
Have they been impressive at all? This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the groupthink that's going on because people like Joel Klatt and everybody else who doesn't do their research spreads this out to the masses, and these zombie brains that soak up this misinformation, and they repeat it as if it's a fact. Have they been impressive at all? I don't know what you consider to be impressive. If your expectation was for them to score 70 points every game and hold every other team to 0 points, then yeah, they've been disappointing. But for a team that's been to the college football playoff 4 years in a row, 2 of those won a national championship, has won 22 straight games, the sophomore quarterback has never lost a game in his college career. That's not impressive. That's not looking good. I would love for somebody to challenge them because they don't challenge each other. What he really means and what everybody else really means but won't say is that Trevor Lawrence hasn't looked great or lived up to expectations. But instead, what they say is Clemson doesn't look good or live up to expectations. And more on that in a second.
Well, so do you want me to rate them higher just because of your theory? Or do you want me to rate teams based on what I've seen on the field?
Well, no, but I think everything has to be considered. Years ago,
FYI, and this is the funny part of this, he's talking about his rankings, which Joel Klatt's rankings are meaningless as anybody else's. It's just as meaningless as the AP poll is or any other person that puts out their personal poll, right? But last year, after 7 games, Joel Klatt had Clemson ranked the same he has him now. And he said the exact same thing that he's saying now. They're not impressive. They play in a garbage conference. Of course, last year, Clemson had 2 close calls. Almost lost 2 games in the first 5 weeks of the season. Remember? They beat Texas A&M at the last minute, and they won by like 2 points in week 2. Then a couple of weeks later, Syracuse comes to Clemson, and that almost gets away from Clemson. They almost lose that game. So how does Clemson's team, if you want to, what they want to do is, in one breath they'll say you can't compare it to last year because last year was last year. But then what they do is say they don't look good as good as they did last year. Well, which is it? They look exactly the same as they did last year as a team, and in some cases better. There's virtually no difference. None. As far as the offensive, defensive stats and points per game and everything that matters, all the metrics that really go into evaluating how good a football team is playing. There's no difference. None. They'll point to a few bad interceptions by a quarterback that they thought was God and Jesus. And then they'll say the whole team is disappointing because of a couple of bad interceptions. And then also what they won't do is they won't show you the 3 touchdowns he had last week after throwing those 2 interceptions, going 25 of 29 in the second and third and fourth quarter for 3 touchdowns, and made probably 3 or 4 NFL throws that nobody in America can make other than him. They didn't say that though, because again, perception is reality, and the perception is what these people are putting out there. I'm getting off on a tangent. Hold on, let's finish this clip.
Florida won a national basketball title.
Why should I consider their national championship from a year ago?
Well,
why not just evaluate teams for what they are in this season?
Well, time out. don't we have a preseason poll? It's totally based on last year.
Why would I care about a preseason poll
Why would we care about your poll, dickhead?
whatsoever? We've already seen that those have proven to be totally wrong. Wisconsin and Penn State weren't thought of to be very much at all, and now here they are clearly in the top 10 right now. I think Clemson's a really good football team. They have not played to their potential.
Again, last year after 7 weeks, Joel Klatt, on this same show, I think, I even posted a video about it, reacting to it, said that this is a time when, after those 2 close losses for Clemson, he was saying they were overrated. Same stuff he's saying now. At that time, Notre Dame looked really good, right? I think they'd come off a dominant win against a top 15 or top 20 Syracuse at the time. And he said Clemson doesn't belong in the playoffs. If you put Notre Dame and Clemson on a neutral field, I'd pick Notre Dame. And then he said, if you want to talk about the future, if Clemson, sleepwalks through the ACC and they get into the playoffs and they meet up against this year's Saban's Alabama team, it wouldn't even be close. He said that there's a miles of a difference between Clemson and Alabama. Well, we all know how that turned out. We saw that play out. Both of those teams that he named to mention that were better than Clemson after 7 weeks got smoked off the field by Clemson. So he doesn't want to talk about last year because last year he was wrong. And he's saying the exact same things.
If you put any other emblem out there outside of Clemson or Alabama, and you said, here's this team, and they have come out and they've played far below expectations and have just a 1 point.
Whose expectations?
Win over a middling team with a first-year head coach. Let's say it's Ohio State. Let's say Ohio State this year would have come out, played below expectations, and had a 1 point win against Indiana. You'd be crushing them, and rightly so. And rightly so. So, Clemson comes out, plays below expectations. They might go undefeated. They're probably going to go to the playoff because of their conference. But to put them or evaluate them outside of what they have actually done, I think is troublesome.
By the way,
to say the least.
What they've actually done is blow everybody out except for North Carolina, which is more than what they did last year. Again, I'm going to keep harping back to this because they want to compare Clemson's team last year to this year and say they're not living up to the expectation that they set last year. But last year they had 2 close calls. This year they have 1 in the same time period. They're beating everybody by 1 million points. They're holding people to less than 2 touchdowns on defense per game. That's the other thing that nobody talks about because why would they? It wouldn't fit their narrative. They say last year's Clemson's defense may be the best defensive line in history. How could you live up to that? Well, they're doing just the same. And by the way, again, just like Trevor Lawrence is only one guy on the offensive side of the football, the defensive line is only one position group on the defensive side of the football. The rest of the defense is better than it was last year by a long shot. And the defensive line is pretty damn good and getting better.
Saban today, who he's afraid of. He doesn't want to face Lincoln Riley, and he doesn't want to face Trevor Lawrence.
Maybe. But this is what's so great about this season is that it's not just 2 teams that are clearly better than everybody else. I think that we've got 7 teams that are clearly national championship contenders, in particular after we saw OU's defense last week actually stand up and play great defense against Texas.
You have Oklahoma this week. West Virginia's at Oklahoma. By the
Okay, that's that. Let me get out of this real quick, and then I'll give you my ending statement. I can already see the crying in the comment section about my homerism and why do you always have to defend Clemson? Well, hello, I'm a Clemson fan, and this is my YouTube channel. That's why. Look, he's right. The last thing he said is right, 100% right. That this year is interesting because there's a lot more teams in the mix. The past few years has been maybe 3 or 4 teams that have a legitimate chance after 7 or 8 weeks to really win a national championship. And that's just the way it's been for the past few years. This year, there's more than that. And a lot of these teams are playing great. Look, as much of a homer as I am, I'm not claiming that Clemson's going to go 15-0 and win a national championship. I'm not even claiming that if they ended up slipping up and losing a game, that they should make the playoff. Depends on a lot of other factors. Clemson certainly could lose to any of these top 5, 6 teams. And they could all lose to Clemson. I'm not delusional. But I don't understand the mentality of people making things up. And that's what they're doing. They're making it up. They say things that they can't prove, like they're not living up to their expectation. You mean Trevor Lawrence isn't living up to your expectation? What you mean? They're not. I hear this too. They're not playing this great. They don't look good. They haven't played nobody. Well, they haven't played nobody according to you because they've been in the ACC for decades. According to you, they've never played anybody until they play somebody and beat them, and then it's, oh well, that's because you don't play anybody. The whole thing is completely ridiculous. So go ahead, come in into the comments section, and tell me how the ACC sucks, as if that matters about how good Clemson is. If you beat teams by 25, 35 points a game, I don't know what else you're supposed to do, especially when you're taking your starters out at half and not leaving them in for the whole game like Ohio State does to run a score up. And I don't blame Ohio State for doing that. If I'm an Ohio State fan and I've been left out of the playoffs as a one-loss Big Ten champ several times, I get it. Run the score up. You got to get style points. But Clemson doesn't, Dabo Swinney doesn't do things that way. His mentality is we'll just win the games, get to the postseason, get as much play time as we can for our second and third string to build depth. And, forget the Heisman. We don't care about that. We want the big trophy, the one that matters for the team, not the guy. It's a different mentality than what some of these other coaches have. Now, is one right or one wrong? I don't know. Maybe it is right. Do what works. If it's working for you and you're making the playoffs and you're winning titles, why would you quit that philosophy? And if you're a fan of a team out there who criticizes that philosophy, maybe you need to emulate it instead of criticizing it, because it seems to be working pretty well up there in Clemson, South Carolina. So, in parting words here, don't listen to the mainstream media and take it as fact just because they have a suit and tie on and, get paid whatever it is, millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars to come on there and pretend like they know everything, because they don't. Do your own research. It's not hard. Watch the games if you want and do your research, and you'll find that nothing that they're saying, whether it's him or Paul Feinbaum or any of these other guys that I named earlier, none of what they're saying is factual. It's all opinion. And their opinion is worth basically nothing to people like me who do know the facts. Now, have a great day. I'll see you guys soon. Pigskin Pete is checking out.